Guys, welcome back to my podcast, Espíritu Juvenil. It was a blessing that y'all got the message through last time. Got to hear our testimonials from me and my co host. 277 views, something like that. It was a blessing to, y'all just hear our podcast, our 30 subscribers. I thank you for subscribing to our channel. Hopefully, we can get more of you guys que se suscriban a nuestro canal. Y tratar de hacer más bilingüe, a little bit more bilingual. I know last time I spoke a little bit more more Spanish than English, but I'm going to do my best to speak English and Spanish at my best of my abilities. And sadly, today I won't have my co-host today. He had some situations that happened to him, so he won't be here with us, but he's still in our prayers, asking that everything's good with him. So for y'all guys, put a prayer down for him or something in the comments. This time the comments won't be private. Last time, first time trying to put a podcast or even a YouTube video, I didn't know any of that. But thankfully today we have our first guest on this podcast, and I'll let him present himself. He's a good friend of mine, and
Mi nombre es Alejandro Angel, and I'm very excited to be here. Like Victor said, we've been good friends for a long while, and I'm very excited and blessed to be here. I'm real happy to be here. If you see me smiling or laughing throughout the video, it's just I'm both nervous and excited to make sure of both. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you to my brother Victor right here for giving me this opportunity to be here.
Yes, brothers. Like I said, es una bendición tenerlo aquí con nosotros, and just be able to hear his life story and maybe his own opinion, because we all have different opinions. Tenemos diferentes opiniones de ciertas situaciones, and like I told y'all last podcast, we're gonna get deep into this and just understand, what God wanted to tell us and stuff like that. So I'm gonna let him give a little bit of his background, his testimonio, su historia, su vida, lo que ha pasado desde pequeño a la edad de ahorita, cómo le está yendo la vida. So I'm going to let him give us a little mini testimonio and get to know our guest.
Okay, so I'm gonna just start from the beginning, as far back as I can remember. So yo nací in Belgrade, Florida, south part of Florida, 561, and so from a young age, desde chiquito, I was always into church because growing up, my parents took us to church. I was baptized, all that. I did my primero comunión. I went to catequismo. My brothers and my older sister, they are all, real deep into church. And, obviously, me being their younger brother, I looked up to them a lot. And I was really invested in church. Despite being where I grew up was a very violent area. Había mucha violencia, eran muchas drogas, armas, matando, robando, todo eso. And despite all that, that's when I was closest to God. And that showed me from a young age that no matter your area, your age, nothing can stop you from being close to God. And that's something that I hold dear. And yeah, so that's where it all started. My relationship with God, and it was real strong back then. We used to go to all the rosarios, just everything we could. And so as I was growing up, things change. People have arguments. Mi familia peleaba mucho entre hermanos y hermanas. And long story short, my parents separated. And then after that, it was just me, my brothers, and my dad, and we just kind of fell out of it. We fell out of church, and yeah, it just kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't the same. We stopped going, you know, and it's real unfortunate because I really did like going, but I think then is when I also, now that I'm older, I realized it. I was in a very dark spot in my life, and without even realizing it. Like I realized it when I'm older, like a couple years ago, because back then I didn't understand. I couldn't grasp it.
Yeah.
And looking back at that now, it's it all goes back to like lost my connection with God. Perdí fe, and that's never a good thing. You need to always trust God. So yeah, after a couple years, being down there, my parents separated. My dad decided to move up here, start fresh because he has family up here. And so 7th grade year, we moved up here, and that's when I met Victor. I met Victor my first year here because I tried out for the soccer team, which was something I had never done. I was real nervous because I didn't know if I was going to make the team or not.
Yeah.
It was my first time ever playing soccer. But I did, and that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because soccer was like an escape. How do you say it?
Like escape from reality, basically. Like what was
Yeah.
going on in your life.
Yeah, it kind of distracted me, and I made so many friends, that I still talk to today, and I'm glad I tried out, and I met Victor, and he, I always knew Victor was into church. That was always kind of his thing growing up. Church.
Yeah, him and Paola and all them siempre me decían el santito, and they would be like,
Yeah.
"You want to hang out?" I was like, "No puedo, tengo mi retiro," and they would always make fun of me. Pero pues, Dios siempre ha estado con nosotros, and it's just a blessing to hear that.
And I remember one time we went to the one youth group. I think we just went that one weekend. I don't even remember what. I think it was on a weekday.
I think it was a Friday because se celebrated.
I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but we went that one time. I mean, it felt good, but then, I only stayed with my dad, so
Yeah.
like he was always working, and it was just hard to get around. And yeah, I came here. I didn't know nobody. Tried out, made the soccer team, made a lot of friends.
I think a question would be like, okay, you got here to Hart County, and maybe after graduation, how was your high school experience, or what are you doing now after high school? ¿Qué estás haciendo? O si quieres decirnos cómo te fue en la prepa o todo eso.
Okay, well, my high school experience. Well, when I first moved here in general, I had a lot of hate in my heart. I did, from everything that happened back in Florida with my parents and all my family fighting. So I came over here with, a lot of hate in my heart and just not the right mindset. No me importaba nada, no me importaba lo que me hacía mañana, no me importaba los sentimientos de otros. Nothing mattered to me. I just, if anybody had a problem with me, I'd just say, I just want to fight them. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was just in a real dark spot. But that all changed around my freshman year. I learned that I had to change.
Yeah.
Because si no cambiaba, that the path I was on wasn't a good one. So my freshman year, I changed. That year was a little rough still, but
trying to get through the changes from moving from
adulthood
would be what I would think of.
Hmm?
Like adulthood, like you actually having to change your mindset because como que like when you get to high school, you have to act like a little bit as an adult.
Yeah.
You can't act like a kid no more. Yeah, I get you.
There's consequences now.
Yeah.
More serious consequences. You can't just be doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I get you.
And also it was very difficult because me sentía solo. Like I had nobody over there. I had all my primos, my tíos, my tías. I grew up with them.
Yeah.
And cuando vine para acá, pues no tenía amigos, tenía primos y primas, tíos y tías, pero it's not the same,
No estabas acercado. You didn't grow up with them. Yeah, entiendo.
And I felt real left out a lot because, ellos estaban acostumbrados a ellos,
Yeah.
like me joining in, they kind of just like pushed me off to the side a little bit. So I felt left out. Yeah, it was hard, solo con mis hermanos, mi hermana, and my dad was always working, and we were just home a lot. We didn't have, financially wasn't the best.
Yeah.
I have an older brother, but he was at that time he was enlisted in the Marines, so he was home every other month. He'd come like once a month for like a weekend. When he came, he took care of us. Nos sacaba, a las películas o a cenar, and that was nice. But
just try to hang out with y'all, make y'all feel good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. And then after high school, ¿qué haces ahora? Like, what's your life like now?
So now I work. Obviously, most of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do up until like maybe my junior year. Because once I finished my sophomore year, I'm like, I gotta figure something out, because
time's running out.
Yeah, time's running out. It hit me, and I really I didn't want to go to college. School was never my thing. So I knew I wanted to be like, some construction or electrician or, I didn't even know what welding was at the time, but that's what I do now. And I was actually originally planning to be an electrician. I signed up for electrician 1 and 2. I finished those. And then my junior year, my first semester junior year, they brought in a welding class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, why not,
Try something new.
Yeah, try something new. Ver que sale, you never know. And I'm glad I did because I joined the welding class. I went through the first 2 classes.
Mm-hmm.
I needed 1 more to get certified, but COVID hit, and that just that just messed everything up. So unfortunately, I couldn't get certified. I couldn't get the certificate from Athens Tech, but I mean, gracias a Dios, I still got a job. I get paid pretty good. And yeah, I enjoy welding. I also work with Victor and Emmanuel, by the way.
Yeah.
We all work together.
Yeah. So it basically started with me going to Carry On through my dad because he was a supervisor, or he is still supervisor at Carry On Trailer. Y me dijo que había una oportunidad nueva. I was working as a waiter. That's always very stressful. And I was like, you know what? Something new won't hurt nobody. Like he said, it's always some will come out of it. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I tried it. Lo traté de... And I liked it. Y gracias a Dios, pues ahora estoy en las oficinas. So ya no los veo tantos como antes. But it was always a blessing. It was fun to work with them. Always having laughs and stuff. Laughing, that's always good for people. So I had fun with y'all. The moments that we had together. They still work together.
Yeah, we do. Still.
I guess one thing, guys, para mí, su historia, su testimonio es like, yo nunca lo había escuchado. We've been friends for, like he says, since 7th grade, pero nunca había escuchado su testimonio. And I think it kind of touched me a little bit. Me tocó un poquito su testimonio, because es algo bonito saber que, like, nuevamente, los jóvenes quieren conocer a Dios, tener esa conexión con Él. Él siempre está con nosotros, Él nos quiere y nos cuida. Pero hubo mucho dolor en su vida, y sanar esas heridas que tú tienes a lo mejor sería lo mejor. So, but one question that I said I wanted to ask you was like, what are your aspirations, or qué es el futuro que tú quieres para ti? Como que, I mean, no creo que quieras quedarte a Carry On the rest of your life, because I know él es bueno en su trabajo, and he could really aspire to do better. So maybe that's a question that I had for you. ¿Qué es algo que a ti que gustaría hacer en long run?
Well, job wise, right now I'm looking to go somewhere else soon, because for me, always the best thing is learn something new experiences. The more the more value you add to yourself. So at Carry On, I've been there for a year now, and I feel like I've learned everything I could there. Like everything they had to offer, I feel like I've taken advantage of. So I feel like, it's time for a new challenge, because I'm not a very complacent person. I like to be tested. I like being in discomfort. That's like the best way to grow. You gotta be in discomfort, and you just gotta go through it. You're gonna be uncomfortable, yes, of course, but once you get through it and once you're on top, then you're like you're just a better person. So right now, I'm looking to go to a different job. There's a couple I got in mind. I just need to choose which one I want to go to. I'm still assessing my options. And yeah, hopefully, everything works out and I get a better job.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and just pray about it. Deja que Dios te guíe donde Él quiere que tú estés, ¿verdad? Espero que siempre sigas a Dios y tengas esa conexión con Él. No hay mucho daño en tu corazón que, como te digo nuevamente, a lo mejor sería bueno sacarlo y a veces llorar no es malo.
Yeah.
Muchas veces ahora dicen que los hombres no pueden chillar, o como los hispanos, nuestros papás siempre nos enseñaban que chillar no era bueno, que eso no era cosa de hombre, que éramos machos fuertes, y no es verdad. A veces como hombres también tenemos nuestros momentos de debilidad y tenemos que expresar eso en forma de sacar ese dolor que tiene uno. Pero quiero empezar con un Bible verse que hoy en la mañana le pedí a Dios que me lo pusiera. And I thought that it was something pretty cool that, God, this Bible verse, He picked it. So I'm going to read the Bible. We're going to go to Romans 10:8. And he tells us, true righteousness comes from faith also says, the word of God is near you, on your lips and in your heart. This is the message that we preach, and this is faith. You are saved if you confess with your lips that Jesus is the Lord, and in your heart you believe that God raised him from the dead. So I thought that, that went perfect with my podcast, the podcast that we're trying to put out for God, que creamos en su palabra, que Jesús, mientras nosotros aclamemos que Dios es verdad, que tenemos que vivir en puridad, tratar de vivir, no perfecto, porque no somos perfectos. Y nuevamente, como les digo, quiero que conozcan nuestros testimonios, el testimonio de aquí de mi hermano, pues que no somos perfectos. Yo pues les conté mi testimonio. A veces para mí es difícil. Uno dice que la vida con Dios es fácil, pero es muy aparte de eso. Pero siempre decir que Dios vive con nosotros y aclamar su nombre. Y pues Él siempre nos va a dar esa fortaleza para estar con Él. Ya después de leyendo esta cita bíblica, quiero empezar con una oración. Para empezar, siempre tratar de empezar con una oración y acabar con una oración. Hermanos, nos persignamos en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Jesús, le pido que usted esté aquí con nosotros, que nos dé esa fortaleza, que usted nos llene con ese amor de usted, que nos guíe tras este camino difícil, que usted cuide aquí a mi hermano Alejandro, que le dé muchas fortalezas para seguir conociéndolo, acercarse hacia usted, tener ese amor de padre, tener ese amor de madre que él tanto necesita. Mamita María, le pido que usted nos cubra con ese manto, que usted sea esa madre que tanto necesitamos nosotros como jóvenes que estamos tratando de dar el mensaje de Dios hacia otros jóvenes. Espíritu Santo, te pido que te descienda sobre nosotros, que hoy se hable la palabra de usted, que nos guíe y que nos dé ese espíritu que después del bautismo fuimos concedido, el Espíritu de Dios. Te pido que nos des fuerza. Te alabamos, mi Señor, porque tú eres grande, magnífico. Lord, I ask you to just be here with us. Give us that love that we need, I'm just so thankful to be able to share this platform with all of y'all. And God, just keep giving this platform a name, but not for me, but for you. Because at the end of the day, they're hearing your voice, they're hearing you, and it's you talking through us, your word. Amen. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. All right, hermano Alejandro, I think one of the subjects that I wanted to get into was friendship,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about friendships nowadays? How do you see them? Or how are your friendships?
Well, my friendships, I don't, the people I have close to me that I would call them my friends, I don't call them my friends because if you're close to me, you're like a brother to me. You're like a sister to me. So I don't love you as a friend. I love you as a brother, as a sister, and I don't have many, but the ones I do have, I'll do anything for them. Anything you need. If I got it, they can have it. If they need it and I got it, they can have it. It's theirs.
That's a blessing to hear, que su mentalidad, a pesar de no estar cerca de la iglesia, todavía tiene esa mentalidad de Dios, de darle a lo mejor lo último que él tiene de él y dárselo a sus amigos. Es algo tan bonito escuchar un joven decir eso, y especialmente hoy en día es como que muchos de los jóvenes son como, I don't know, like a bit selfish now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they rather not give, and I like that's just a blessing to hear. Friendships. And one of the questions that I had was, is it good to have friendships that are outside of our faith?
By outside of the faith, do you mean like different religions or?
Yeah, or maybe even for people like como que no van a la iglesia, or also like have those relationships with somebody that does believe in that thing, that, just believe in God in general. You think that's good?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, because yo no voy mucho a la iglesia.
Yeah.
Emmanuel tampoco, and we still have that faith. We believe in him. Le tenemos mucha confianza
con Dios.
Confidence.
Yeah, confianza.
Yeah, confianza. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so everybody gets different views, because God can send out one message, and I might see it one way, and Victor might see it another.
I love that. I love to hear that.
There's no right or wrong. It's just I might get one thing out of it, and Victor might get another, and como amigos hablamos, y we might get two lessons.
Yeah, something else. Yeah, I love that. I love to hear this. Que el mensaje de Dios es verlo en diferentes formas. Dios te habla en diferentes formas, pero cuando Él quiere que tú sepas algo, Él siempre va a andar diciéndote lo mismo. Like, te va a decir, no, hazlo. I think this podcast was something for me like that too. Que yo llevo como un año que Dios me está diciendo, empieza este podcast, habla de mi palabra, dame una plataforma. Y pues gracias a Dios, I'm financially stable to the ability where I can, buy the equipment and give God, his platform, lo que Él quería, que la palabra de Dios se escuchara, que, his word was, heard.
So when I first found out Victor was making this podcast, it was from Emmanuel. And remember, we wanted to go like snowboarding, which we haven't done. But I talked to him. He's like, I think I told him a date, and he was like, "Oh, I gotta go with Victor to film a podcast." And I was like, "A podcast? Like for what?" And he's like, "Oh, Victor, he wants to start a podcast like talking about God and church." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, that's From then, I knew like from then on, I knew I wanted to be on it. Like. I was like, yeah, like that's something I'd want to do.
Yeah.
And then I seen the first episode come out, and I'm like, dang, that's cool.
Yeah, like he really did it.
Yeah, I was like, he did it. Yeah. I was like, I did. The next day when it came out, I told Emmanuel, I was like, I want to be on it. I was like, yeah, because he told me he's like, yeah, he wants to like invite people. I was like, I want to be on it.
Yeah.
And
I think Lolo, I talked to him. He's like, he sent me a message. He's like, I told him, I was like, the podcast is up, it's live, bro, God's word is up, And then he started telling me that y'all want to be on the podcast. And I was like, I thought that was a blessing, because pensar que ustedes, y'all knew que se trataba este podcast. We were going to talk about God and give his word, and y'all still wanted to be on it. Y se ve la necesidad de tener a Dios con nosotros. So, what would you think if, we had un grupo de jóvenes for adults? Because técnicamente todavía somos jóvenes, somos el presente, el ahora. What would you feel from that? If we were to open un grupo de jóvenes, de adultos aquí en Hartwell, en la parroquia de Sagrado Corazón for y'all, would you think you would like that? Get closer to know God and understand Him.
I mean, most definitely. It's never a bad idea to get closer to God. I mean, through Him. I mean, if you have faith in Him, I mean, you can do anything. Nomás confía en Él and work hard. Stay humble, and I think
connect that friendship with Him. Because we talk about friendships between us, but we gotta remember que Jesús es el mejor amigo. Nunca va a haber mejor amigo que Jesús, because he's not gonna tell our secrets, Y aunque no le digamos nuestros secretos, él sabe everything we're going through. He's just waiting. He's just like knocking on the door, like, hey, Alejandro, open the door. I'm here. Like, I want to be your friend. Y muchas veces what social media just teaches us, like, like, is God really real? Like, that's how I feel. But, a Bible verse that, I was, studying the Bible and just going through was, if we go to Jobs 42:10, after Jobs had prayed for his friend, Yahweh restored his fortunes, giving him twice as much as he had before. All his brothers and sisters and his former friends came to his house and dined with him. So, a ti, just listening to that word, and ¿qué te está diciendo, Like, what, you want me to reread it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, back, Jobs 42. 42, this is the chapter, and then versículo 10. After Job had prayed for his friends, Yahweh restored his fortunes, giving him twice as much as he had before. All his brothers and sisters and former friends came to his house and dined with him.
I think that means, like, if you're in a dark spot, whether it's financially or, emotionally, mentally, I think that just goes to show that you just need to pray, talk to God, let Him know, how you're doing, let Him know that you still love Him and you still have faith in Him, and God never fails.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, God just can't fail. Y yo también, like he said before, like, él entiende de una forma y yo entiendo de otra. So what God told me there was que siempre tenemos que orar por nuestros mejores amigos, or sometimes even people we don't know, because no sabemos lo que están pasando, su historia, the trials and tribulations that they're going through, and just pray for them, and God will multiply what you prayed for him, and he multiplied for Jobs. He gave him more than he had before, because he was looking out for el bienestar de sus amigos. And I think that yo a veces falto en eso, and Alejandro can tell you, a veces se me va la canica y me enojo, and after even being in church and knowing that sometimes el demonio te va a decir cosas, sometimes I get heated. En vez de decirle, you know what, God loves you, le digo de otras cosas.
Yeah.
Que no está bien. So next time, cuando me diga algo Alejandro, when he pisses me off, I'm just going to be like, you know what, God loves you, te quiere. Spread that positivity, dar esa positividad que Dios quiere que se dé, ¿verdad? Y it's just a blessing. But yes, y tú con tus, like, outside friends, how's your connection with them? Like, ya sé que, our good friend Edgar, he's here in the podcast.
Yeah.
Give a thumbs up. You're
gonna be here, Edgar.
Yeah,
I know you watch it. You watched the first episode, you're gonna be here.
Yeah. But, like, y'all's relationship, or with Renee and stuff like that, like, how is it different, with their relationship and our relationship, like my friendship with you and their friendship?
Well, for starters, I've known you since I moved here. So that was I was like, 12, and I'm 20 now. So like 8 years. So, I mean, obviously I met them at work at Carry On also. And Renee, I just kind of, when I first started talking to Renee, I was, no salía, me quedaba en mi casa, fin de semana, no más trabajaba, Edgar used to make fun of me. I'll post a picture that I'm at work on Saturday, and he'd be like, bro, go home,
Just trying to make that money, that bread.
Yeah. So, but I wouldn't go out much. So, disfrutia, right?
Disfrutabas, frutos that God was giving you the ability.
Yeah. So, they cut overtime eventually at our job, so I couldn't work as much. I wasn't working as much, so I had a lot of more time on my hands.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting close to Renee, and he was like, "Hey, man, like, let's go out, he just got a boat at the time. He's like, let's go on the boat. And so I started going out with him, basically every weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd go out with him, we'd have fun. We'd go on a boat, a rope swing, and all that stuff. But where it's different, I feel like, obviously I'm not going to be as close as them with you because I've known you longer, been through more with you. We've had our arguments.
Yeah.
We played soccer together, so that was a huge thing.
Yeah, we were always.
I played right wing, and he was my right back. So we were always by each other. I used to drop for him. only right wing that would do it, but
at Hartcan.
Yeah, but I still remember when we beat Franklin. Make it a state. And after we were just hugging, we're like, we did it.
We did it.
That's like one of my best memories with him or just in general. Yeah, so Renee and Edgar. I met Edgar obviously at work, but I never really talked to him.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't, at first I didn't know that was Alex, the mechanic. I didn't know that was his dad.
Yeah.
And then one day I was at his shop, I think for my truck probably, because that would break down all the time. But I was at the shop and with my dad and Edgar's dad, and then Edgar comes and I'm like, oh, like we work together. So we just started talking, and from there we just started,
the friendship kind of grew.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're always going to bring blessings to you, some good advice, because they look at life a little bit different than I do. I'm probably a little bit more strict, and I'm like, what you're saying is probably not correct, because that's just what the church has taught me. Pero siempre tienen, hasta afuera de la iglesia, siempre hay como un diferente punto de vista. Y a veces Dios nos habla en diferentes maneras. Y a veces también nos jala el oído. He's like, algo que yo creo grande es que, que si nos contamos algo, que tenemos que ser como tumbas. Oh, there's no exceptions with, I'm going to tell my girlfriend. No, si nuestros mejores amigos nos dicen algo, que sea nomás para nosotros. O sea, yo le llegara a decir algo a Alejandro, que ahí, pues, que yo supiera que allá no va a pasar ni para la novia, ni para el otro mejor amigo, ni nada. Porque eso es una amistad realística, good friendships, just better. So I guess that would be my advice for friendships and just, life in general, as a friend, kind of like, que te cuenten las cosas, and if they need help, just help them out whenever they can. That's what I got from our conversation.
Renee, he definitely showed me how to have fun.
Yeah.
He definitely showed me how to have fun. Also Edgar, I've gone out with Edgar a couple of times, but more Renee. He taught me how to have fun, disfrutar también, no nomás trabajar, because then, you're just going to get burnt out, and yeah, I try and help Renee. I try and give, all my friends, I try to give advice, help when I can, however, whether that's advice, if one day, we're at work and you or Emmanuel or, Edgar or somebody forgets their wallet or something, I got you.
Yeah.
And when I buy my friends food, like I don't ask for the money.
Yeah, like no.
Yeah, like
si prestas, ya que ahí muera.
Yeah.
Si te quieren pagar, pues ya es otra cosa.
Yeah.
Pero like, I think that's how we've learned as we get older because the chiquitos, you don't have a lot of money. Te di $5, where they at?
Yeah.
No, ya no, ¿verdad?
But
Guys
todo eso es bendiciones. That's something my mom tells me a lot. Even like for waiters, tip. Even if they didn't do the best job, $10, $5, it goes a long way. They could be having a really bad day and they get a $20 tip. I mean, I'm sure you're a waiter.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, I'm like, waiter, it's cool and all, but you don't always make the most money. That was always my big thing when he was a waiter. And so, I try, my best, at work, people, something happens, somebody gets hurt, sick, I always try and give because at the end of the day, when you give, that's when you receive the most.
And you don't know when maybe the next time you need $5, you need, I don't know, someone to help you with something, and they're always gonna remember, pues él fue mi amigo y me prestó $5 cuando yo los necesitaba. So it's always a good thing, but friendships are like I think the most valuable thing. Like stay connected, instead of arguing, mejor tú dile que sí, ya le sigues por el otro lado. And then whenever you are good, just come back and be like, hey, no me gustó lo que me dijiste. I didn't like what you told me. And I think that's a good thing, Yeah. And it's been a pretty good conversation so far talking about friendships and stuff and just what God has to tell us, Always pray for our friends and, give that abundance of love and He's going to multiply everything we have, And like you were telling me, you said you would work a lot of overtime.
Yeah.
Money, that's always like something big. And in los tiempos de ahora, like, how do you foresee money? Like, if you had the ability to be wealthy, like, would you be okay with that, or what? How do you want your future status of, wealthiness to be?
I mean, in the future, I don't necessarily want to be rich. Like, I'm not like, I want to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can say that's my goal because I always like to, overachieve.
Yeah.
Have high expectations, set high goals.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be a millionaire. I just want to, I want to be sustainable. I want to be able to support me, mi familia.
In the future.
Yeah, in the future, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, I just want to be sustainable. Not a million, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of millionaires in the world, and they're some of the saddest people in the world too.
Yes, that's very true. Yo también le pido lo mismo a Dios. Just give me enough to be able to sustain my family in the future. Dejar que ellos, yo si tengo los zapatos rotos, que se me queden a mí rotos, pero que mis hijos siempre tengan lo mejor. So I think that we both have the same idea on money, just having the ability to do that. And if we go to Proverbs 11:28, nos dice la palabra, he who trusteth in riches will stumble, while the upright will flourish like leaves. Whoever mismanages his house will inherit only wind. The fool will end up a slave of the wise. So, do you want me to read it again, or you understood?
Well, what I got from that is basically money is not the biggest thing in the world. It's, it is important because, obviously you need money, especially like nowadays, everything's going up in price. So money is important, but it shouldn't be number one.
Yeah.
I think God and family should be above that, like, yeah, I like to work overtime and all, but, I'll skip on overtime to go to my brother's soccer game, or if he has a ceremony, award ceremony or anything.
Just something.
Yeah, if my family want to go out for dinner and they want to go at 5:30 and I get off at 4:30, then, I'm not going to go work,
Yeah.
Because The most valuable thing in life is time.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing you can't get time back. Money, I can make that money back. I waste a couple hundred, I can make it back.
Yeah.
But time, once you give it up, that's all there is.
Yeah.
And sharing your time with your loved ones and God, I think that's most important.
The main point of life is family and time. Value that time. I think that was one of the things that this Bible verse said at the end was that esos que siguen the riches will only serve people with more wealth. So siempre, God will financially give you what you need for His own will. And if like los más sabios, the people with most wise are always the people that have the least amount, because ellos siempre supieron be able to stretch that out and just give their time and effort to God, and God just always made them happy. And like he said at the beginning, Elon Musk and all those people that have all this big type of money, billionaires, millionaires, they're not happy. All they care about is what's the next step to making another $1 billion. And that was not our purpose for this. They brought us to be like, God brought us, to basically prepare ourselves for His kingdom. We're here temporarily, and a lot of people say que nomás vivimos una vez, but it's not like that. Venimos al mundo, the earth, to prepare ourselves for God, porque to live eternal life is alabarle, glorify Him for the rest of our lives. We don't live once, guys. Vivimos for eternal life as long as you serve God, righteousness in the right way, And money is not the way to do things.
I think we're all brought here for a purpose. Everybody has something they like to do, and everybody has a purpose. They're not the same thing. I like to weld. I know you're doing drafting and whatnot, but that might not be. That can be different from your purpose. I mean, right now, what I'm seeing is your purpose. Why God has you here is to spread His word and spread His love. And my purpose, I think, right now is, I grew up playing soccer. I love soccer. It was always my sport. I still keep up with it a lot today. And my little brother's on the middle school soccer team, and I go out there and I coach him, and that brings me a lot of joy. That just knowing that, because I knew what soccer did for me. Soccer saved me.
It was a connection.
Yeah, so
you feel like you could be a connection with them.
Yeah, so I want them to also have that, because they might be in a similar situation to me, or worse, or a little bit better. We don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that it can really help them out.
Yeah.
And so me, if I can provide that for them, I think that's what brings me joy.
Big blessing right there, man. I love the way you're speaking about this, and it's great to just be able to hear que la juventud se necesita a Dios, necesita conocer la palabra, y hasta los mismos padres conocer nuestros corazones. Maybe your dad hears this and he sabe que maybe he wasn't there for you all the time, pero los padres todavía tienen tiempo para cambiar. Siempre dicen, pues es que así crecí. Yes, así creciste, pero puedes trabajar toda la vida, pero nunca puedes regresar a esos momentos con tus hijos. Son padres de familia o jóvenes como nosotros que vamos creciendo en la vida. Trabajo no es lo más importante. El dinero no es lo más importante. Si tienes fe y crees en Dios, Él siempre te va a dar lo que tú necesitas en el momento correcto, y nunca te va a faltar nada. Y aquí, pues, mi hermano Alejandro te lo dice, de una persona que viene técnicamente del mundo, pero que quiere conocer la palabra de Dios. Nos está diciendo que dinero no es lo más importante. Jóvenes, padres de familia, les digo que, time is the most important thing in connection with God. I think that's what we got from today's podcast. It was. I think today's podcast was a blessing just to be able to hear us, and I think we'll go ahead and end it with a prayer. I'll let you, do a little prayer. Some words you want to tell God, and then I'll end it whenever you're done.
Yeah.
So, en nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén.
Dear God, thank you for, letting us be here, first of all. It's a great blessing. Thank you for everything you've done for us since the beginning. Thank you for giving us a purpose. I don't know what to say, man.
It's okay. Just anything that you want to tell God. Él te está escuchando. And I promise you that after today, He's going to bless you with so many things. So just whatever te está diciendo tu corazón, whatever your heart's telling you, just tell Him.
All right. I want to thank you for another day of life, for my healthy family, for, keeping all my loved ones safe. I know some of my family, they're going through a rough time right now. My Theo's dad, he's real sick, so I want to throw a quick prayer out to him right now. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Señor, hoy te damos gracias por nuevamente dejarnos estar aquí, tener a mi hermano aquí, Alejandro, escuchar su palabra, ver diferentes puntos de vista, porque tú eres un Dios grande, un Dios de misericordia, un Dios que perdona todo lo que nosotros hacemos. Le pido que siga bendiciendo a este joven que está aquí al lado mío, con muchas bendiciones, que lo llenes con ese corazón de padre que tanto necesita, con ese amor que a lo mejor él necesita. Le pido que le abra caminos, le abra las puertas a su futuro, que usted lo lleve a donde usted lo necesite, Jesús, porque solo usted sabe dónde nos necesita. Mamita María, te pido que hoy en el camino para atrás, que vaya para su casa, que usted lo cuide, que interceda por él, para que todas sus peticiones y todas las cosas que él quiere y necesita sean curados y sanados, y que usted sea esa madre que lo abrace con ese manto hermoso, con esa hermosura, porque usted como madre le aceptó el camino a Dios. Y le pido también por este joven, para que él acepte que él también necesita acercarse a Dios. Y Espíritu Santo, te pido que nuevamente te desciendas con nosotros, que nos des esa fuerza, esa alegría, ese corazón para seguir a Jesús, porque tú eres parte de Dios, eres parte de la Santísima Trinidad. Y te pido tú que estás cerca con Dios, que eres Dios, te pido que tú con esas fuerzas nos llenes con ese fervor, esas ganas de seguir alabando y creyendo en nuestro Señor Jesucristo. Te alabamos por todo, por la naturaleza, por los animales, por los pájaros, los peces, los animales terrestres, por el sol, la noche, por todo lo que tus creaciones que tú hiciste. Y pues también te alabamos por darnos vida, dejarnos respirar contigo. Y te pido que un día, mi Señor, podamos llegar al lado tuyo y alabarte y quitarnos esa corona ante usted, porque solo usted es el único Rey. Todo esto se le pedimos en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. And guys, thank you for joining us with Espíritu Juvenil, and we're out.